On the day I was killed, my husband was with his first love. They embraced and kissed, rekindling their old feelings, and quickly got married after my death. For 10 years, only the detective captain in charge of the case couldn't sleep day or night. After successfully capturing the murderer, he accepted an interview and remained silent for a long time. The victim, she is the person I love the most. The media was in an uproar. When I woke up again, I was back at 20. And he was still the aloof campus heartthrob from the police academy. I climbed over the wall and was caught by him. "What are you doing?" I jolted. I came to confess. "Celine, wake up quickly, you're going to be late for your date." I was awakened by my roommate, my mind filled with the scene of Damien being interviewed. "Lucian has called you several times already." I was taken aback for a moment. It seems like 20 years ago, the day I went on my first date with Lucian. The phone rang again. "It's Lucian." "Celine, what have you been busy with? I thought you had collapsed since you didn't answer the phone." My nerves jolted suddenly. The memory of the sharp blade cutting through the throat feels like it was just yesterday. "Why aren't you speaking? Have you gone mute?" He has always had a terrible attitude towards me. If it weren't for him just breaking up with his first love, I would never have had the chance to go on a date with him. Back then, I was infatuated with this childhood friend I had secretly loved for a long time. I lowered my pride to the utmost, endured everything, and waited until marriage. I thought I had finally achieved my dream, but on the day I met a tragic end in the streets. He rekindled his old flame with his first love, and soon after my death, he remarried in a hurry. Seeing that I still hadn't answered, Lucian let out a cold laugh and hung up directly. I let out a cold laugh. In this new life, I will not repeat my past mistakes. Just as I lay down, I suddenly sat up with a start. Back then, I was dating Lucian, which gave me the chance to meet his classmate, Damien, who was also studying at the Public Security University. If I don't go to the appointment now, won't I miss the chance to meet Damien? In my past life, only Damien truly loved me. I can't miss it again. I immediately got up and left our medical school, jogging over to the nearby police university. The Public Security University implements closed management, and entry to the campus requires a student to lead the way. I called Lucian several times, but he didn't answer at all. If I miss this opportunity, I don't know when I will get to know Damien. I wandered outside the wall, and when I looked up, I saw a section of iron railing. This place is lower than anywhere else. I didn't think much of it and rolled up my sleeves to climb up, just as I was about to jump down after climbing over the wall. A sharp shout came from behind me. "What are you doing?" I was startled and turned to look back. Behind me stood several tall boys in black short-sleeved shirts with buzz cuts. The one in front had a high-nose bridge and piercing eyes, and was staring intently at me. My breath suddenly caught in my throat. In my past life, after successfully capturing the culprit, he stood in his police uniform facing the camera, remaining silent for a long time, clearly only in his 30s. Yet his hair had already turned grey. Finally, he opened his mouth and said something that took everyone by surprise. "The victim, she is the person I love the most." At this moment, he was looking at me, his brow furrowed. I jumped down from the wall, feeling nervous and at a loss under his gaze. In a moment of impulse, I unexpectedly said what was on my mind. "I came here to confess." As soon as the words left his mouth, a few boys behind him laughed. "Confess to whom?" "I recognize her. She's Lucian's childhood friend, right?" "Oh, I knew it." "Dear sister." "Quiet," Damien interrupted them, turning his head to look at me. "Come with me to the security department to explain." He turned to look at me. "I am here to confess my feelings to you." Everyone at the scene fell silent for a few seconds. Then it exploded in an instant. But in the end, I was still taken to the security department, because the patrolling teacher saw me. "Explain clearly, how did you get in? And why are you here?" The teacher, dressed in a police uniform, looked at me with a stern expression. "I'm sorry, teacher, I was so nervous that I couldn't say anything for a long time." The teacher frowned. "Which school? What is your ID number? I will contact your school." Damien, who had been standing at the door, pushed it open and said, "Teacher, this is my friend. They came in without contacting me and caused trouble for the school. I accept all consequences." He took all the blame upon himself. I hurriedly denied. "No, it's me." Damien reached out with his long arm and pushed me aside. The teacher's gaze swept between the two of us. "Damien, you are an outstanding student at our public security university. Even if you are in a relationship, you must learn to handle matters of the heart properly. He did not rush to deny it. Understood. Go back and get a reprimand from your captain. Okay. After saying that, the teacher turned away to drink tea. And Damien quickly led me away by the back of my neck. He finally let go as he walked out of the school gate. Seeing him turn to leave, I quickly grabbed his arm. He looked down at me, frowning. If you keep holding on, you'll have to explain yourself to the security office. I immediately let go. Damien, I'm here to talk to you. I refuse. I was taken aback. First, I don't know you. Second, we have no connection. Third, he paused, the person I like. I won't make her suffer by confessing first. After saying that, he turned and left. I stood there in a daze. He was right. Now we are just strangers. I suddenly remembered everything from my past life. My interactions with Damien were all intertwined with the emotional entanglements involving Lucian. At that time, my impression of him was that of a silent, serious, and unsmiling rough man. Compared to Lucian's tall and slender physique, he was robust, tall, had darker skin, and loved wearing black clothes. Later, he went to the criminal police team with Lucian and became Lucian's captain. From then on, we remained merely acquaintances. The turning point came during a hospital stay when I was providing care. At that time, I was already working in the hospital, and coincidentally, Damien was hospitalized due to an injury sustained while on duty. To ensure that Lucian's superior took care of him, I went every day to bring him meals that I had prepared myself, paying special attention to his recovery. Later, I began to stay and chat with him for 2 consecutive months, come rain or shine. At that time, my heart and eyes were filled with Lucian, completely oblivious to other men, and naturally unaware that these warm gestures had touched the heart of the budding Damien. The captain. It wasn't long before I told him, I like Lucian. In this life, all I hope is that he can respond to me. He remained silent for a long time. If I had a girl I liked, I would never let her feel wronged by having to confess her feelings first. I didn't notice his dim eyes. All I knew was that from then on, whenever Lucian treated me poorly, he would step in to criticize, not caring at all whether his actions were overstepping. I thought he regarded me as a friend. But on the day of my wedding to Lucian, he did not attend, until I met a tragic end on the streets. My husband, who was also a police officer, rekindled his romance with his first love and even resigned from the police force just to travel the world with her. Only Damien was sleepless day and night, finding commonalities in other cases, and after processing them together, he ultimately succeeded in capturing the murderer. My soul has drifted in the world for 10 years. The last memory is of Damien expressing his feelings for me during an interview. When I open my eyes again, I am back at 20, and everything is still possible. But now I am eager to express my feelings to him, only to end up making things worse and backfiring. At night, I lay in bed tossing and turning, and Lucian's call came again. Celine, I've had too much to drink at KTV, can you come pick me up? His voice was weak and pitiful, completely unlike the harshness of the day. I was taken aback. Suddenly recalling a similar incident from my past life, he tricked me into drinking too much and asked me to pick him up. I was anxious and rushed out in my pajamas, only to find him perfectly fine, grinning and telling the person next to him, "See, I told you I could be available anytime." I stood at the door like a dog on display, completely devoid of dignity. But why did this kind of manipulation happen in advance? Just as I was wondering, I suddenly heard someone on the other end of the phone shouting, "She confessed to Damien today, and letting Lucian be available anytime is just slapping Damien in the face. Right, don't you think so, Damien?" My heart skipped a beat. Is Damien also here? The words of refusal circled on my lips, and I curled my lips into a smile. All right, just wait for me. Lucian's voice clearly rose. Okay, I hung up the phone and dialed a number from my memory. Hello, a deep male voice came through. "I am the girl who confessed to you today. My name is Celine." Without waiting for his response, I continued, "Now that you know me, we need to start intersecting. Are you drunk right now?" "What?" I can even imagine the look of Damien frowning at this moment. I smiled. "Drink more, I will go pick you up right now." After hanging up the phone, I didn't even change my clothes and took a taxi to the KTV. Following the location sent by Lucian, I stopped in front of a private room, took a deep breath, and pushed the door open. The noisy crowd instantly fell silent, and then someone burst out laughing. In less than half an hour, Lucian is amazing. I accept the bet and admit defeat. Ah, indeed, always at your beck and call. Their gazes towards me were filled with mockery and disdain, just like in my past life. The difference is, in the dark corner of the private room, a tall figure sat there, holding a glass of wine the entire time. I casually picked up a bottle of wine and walked expressionlessly in front of Lucian. His expression changed slightly. "Celine, what are you doing? Are you lying to me?" He scoffed. "I didn't force you. You came to me on your own." He looked down at the bottle of wine in my hand and said, "What, seeking revenge? Is it really necessary to make such a scene over something that was mutual?" I smiled and slowly set down the bottle. After all, this was just to scare him a little. "Lucian, don't get ahead of yourself. I'm here to pick someone else up." His expression changed sharply. Then he mocked, "Everyone here is my friend. Which one do you know? You can save face, but if you're going to throw around harsh words, at least do it with some skill, or you'll just embarrass yourself." Everyone burst into laughter. At that moment, the figure in the darkness stood up. The private room fell silent, and someone quietly called out, "Damien." He slowly walked up to me, lifted his eyelids to glance at Lucian, and then turned to me. "Let's go." At the moment the box door closed, I heard the sound of a wine bottle shattering, along with the voices of people desperately trying to comfort Lucian. I followed Damien out of the KTV. This northern city has entered autumn. It has just rained, and the night breeze gently brushes by, filled with a chill. I unconsciously shrank my neck. As I reached an intersection, the figure in front suddenly stopped. I almost bumped into it. Under the streetlight, Damien looked down at me, his brows and eyes shrouded in shadow, particularly deep. "Celine, this will make me feel troubled." I was taken aback and quickly understood what he meant. He doesn't like me to be too proactive. Frustration surged forth, even with a second chance at life. I still lack rationality when it comes to love, acting impulsively and without consideration, doing things that others see as out of line. After saying this, Damien stuffed his hands into his pockets and strode forward. But our schools are adjacent, and there is only one way back. I had no choice but to grit my teeth and follow behind him, keeping a considerable distance. As I reached the entrance of an alley, someone suddenly dashed out and collided heavily with me, nearly knocking me to the ground. Yet, they didn't even say sorry and hurriedly left. "What are you?" A familiar scent invaded my nostrils, and I was suddenly stunned. It is the unique scent of temple incense mixed with the wild grass after the rain. In my past life, the person who carried this scent kidnapped me into a dark alley on a rainy night. He stood behind me, holding a knife against my throat, his voice chilling. "You are too much of a nuisance." I suddenly woke up, and that person was already gone. I looked towards the dark alley beside me, pitch black and long. Nothing can be seen. Fear spreads along the spine, gradually reaching the scalp, causing tingling. I ran towards Damien and grabbed him, saying, "Damien." He seemed to have exhausted his last bit of patience, frowning as he looked at me. "What do you want?" Perhaps my expression was twisted with fear. Damien paused for a moment. I pulled him towards the dark alley and said, "Something happened over there. Did you see it?" "I didn't see it, but something must have happened." Damien pulled me back, stopping me. "Celine, there's no point in keeping me for this reason." I shook my head desperately, my eyes turning red. "You believe me, I swear. If not, I will never disturb you again." He was clearly shaken. After a pause, he ultimately walked over with me, stepping into the dark alley. Rainwater was pooled everywhere in the uneven ground, with the light of the phone. We moved forward little by little, and besides the moss-covered brick walls, it seemed there was nothing else. Could it be that I guessed wrong? I looked up at Damien, and his expression grew increasingly serious. "Shall we go back?" I asked. He suddenly lifted his foot and walked towards the deepest part of the alley. It turned out there was a hidden path there, and at the deepest point, a woman in bright red lay there. I hurriedly ran forward and felt her carotid artery. There is still a breath of life on her chest. There is a wound gushing blood. She is still alive. Call an ambulance. After saying that, I took off my coat, pressed it against her wound, and performed basic first aid. Soon, the sound of police sirens pierced the night sky. The injured woman was taken to the hospital, and after emergency treatment, she was out of danger. I went to the police station with Damien to give a statement. Whether in my past life or now, I have never been able to see the face of the murderer clearly. In my past life, at the press conference where Damien was hunting for the murderer, I was reborn before the identity of the killer was revealed, so, apart from providing the unique scent of the murderer, I had no other clues at all. As I walked out of the police station, Damien couldn't help but ask, "How did you know someone was murdered there?" Intuition. I deliberately changed the subject. "So how did you know there was a small path behind the alley?" I smelled blood. We both fell silent. After a moment, he broke the silence. "Sorry, I shouldn't have doubted you." I scratched my head and said, "It's normal to be suspicious when you hear me say that." Suddenly, the atmosphere fell silent again. We walked side by side for a while before he spoke again. "Celine, your thoughts are quite different from mine." I was taken aback and half-jokingly said, "Is that better or worse?" He fell silent and did not answer. "If you don't speak, I'll take it as better." The night wind rustled, making the fallen leaves whisper. Finally, he raised his head. "I'll take you back." News of a violent injury incident nearby quickly spread. The entire university town was in a state of panic. When I came out of the experimental building, I saw a figure in a white dress from a distance. My footsteps suddenly halted, and a chill ran from my feet to my entire body. By Joran. The first love that Lucian has never forgotten. She was also the one with whom Lucian was embracing and kissing when I tragically died on the street in my past life. In order to win Lucian's affection, I desperately imitated by Joran, learning her every smile and frown, and how to dress like her. She applied to medical school, and I followed suit, just to be closer to Lucian. Looking back now, it's both sad and laughable. I still remember, when my soul flew to their side. They were in a hotel together, caught up in passion. She asked him, "Aren't you afraid of being caught by your wife? She loves me to the point of life and death. It's impossible for her to notice. Besides, even if she did, what difference would it make?" "That's true. Even if she found out, with how much she loves you, she would surely forgive you." With tears in her eyes, they exchanged a mocking smile, full of derision, even though my heart has clearly stopped beating. I feel a pain in my chest as if it were being torn apart. I screamed in agony, but they couldn't hear me at all. After learning of my death, Lucian only pretended to be sad for a moment. Before my 7th day had even passed, he couldn't wait to move in with by Joran. He even gave up his police work for her. "Celine," a voice interrupted my memories as by Joran walked towards me. "I heard you went to KTV for Lucian's gathering a few days ago. I'm not surprised that she knows about this. She has always loved Lucian in her heart. Their breakup was just out of anger and pride. Naturally, I, who have been his childhood friend and have always liked his sister, became the object of her keen interest." I didn't want to explain too much. He must be having a hard time finding someone to accompany him. She clearly misunderstood and tried to prove something to me. During the time we broke up, he kept sending me messages and even had someone deliver many letters to me. When a man becomes affectionate, it's really hard to resist. "Is that so?" "Yes." She tried hard to hide the victorious smile on her face. I struggled for a long time, but in the end, I decided to give him another chance. Saying that, she pointed towards the school gate. "We have plans to go to the city center today." I frowned. "Isn't today a work day?" "It's not a work day. Police academy students can't leave the school," she said proudly. As soon as he heard me back down, he immediately asked the school for leave. That expression was as if to say, she is much more important to him than I am. I let out a cold laugh. Truly an extraordinary great love. "Well, I wish you all have fun." Just as I was about to turn and leave, Bai Jiran suddenly looked into the distance and said, "Yong Kang." "I'm here." I turned back and locked eyes with Lucian. He was clearly taken aback, obviously not expecting to see me here as well, since the day Damien and I left. Lucian has sent me several messages questioning our relationship, all of which I ignored. Finally fed up, I simply blocked him. Now that we meet again, he clearly wants to address the fact that I blocked him. But with Bai Jiran present, he held back and eventually shifted his attention away from me. From beginning to end, I have always been in a state of indifference. I neither let Bai Jiran see the reluctance she expected, nor did I let Lucian see my long-standing infatuation. They were all trying hard to conceal the surprise in their eyes. I lifted my chin and turned to leave. In the evening, I received a phone call. "Is this Celine? Who are you?" The person on the other end was emotional. "I am the mother of the girl you saved that day. Do you have time tonight? I would like to invite you to dinner to express my gratitude in person." There's no need for that. It's what I should do. If it's inconvenient for you, I can go to your school. How does that sound? The girl's mother was unable to refuse the warm invitation, but if she comes to the school, the matter of saving people by scent will inevitably become known to everyone. At that point, trying to use the same method to identify the murderer might be quite difficult, so I agreed to go to the appointment. But added, actually, the one who mainly saves people is my other friend. His name is Damien. You should ask him first. If he goes, then I will go, then I'll go ask him, if he's willing to come. You must come along too. Okay. I hung up the phone and pouted. I really did give this lady a tough task. It's not a day off. As a police academy student, Damien can't leave the school gate at all. From what I know about him, he wouldn't casually take a day off like Lucian, busy until the evening. My phone rang again. It was a text message. My heart skipped a beat when I saw who the sender was. Damien, I'm at the entrance of your school. I slowly typed a question mark, and the other side replied instantly, leaving in 5 minutes. I jogged to the school gate, and from a distance, I saw Damien standing under the streetlight, dressed in all black, looking strong and tall. I asked breathlessly, "Where are we going to set off to?" He looked puzzled and said, "Isn't that girl's mother inviting you?" I didn't agree. He fell silent. I slowly regained my composure. "Did she tell you that I would go too?" He took it for granted. I suddenly found him unexpectedly simple-minded and couldn't help but tease him. "So you took a leave to come out? Are you worried about me walking alone at night?" He turned and walked away. I chased after him, saying, "Hey, I was just joking. Don't be angry." The banquet was set in a high-end restaurant, and the girl's mother, with red-rimmed eyes, expressed her gratitude to us and prepared many valuable gifts, all of which Damien and I declined. After all, attending the banquet was merely to fulfill a mother's wish. On the way back, Damien discussed the case with me. According to that lady, her daughter usually has no enemies. So the perpetrator is most likely a random attacker. I nodded in agreement with his statement. He continued to speculate. "You said that day the suspect came out of the alley and bumped into you, then walked in the opposite direction from us. Assuming he is the perpetrator and wants to avoid surveillance, he has only two choices. Either go to a more secluded area or to a more crowded place. I remember that direction. There is a side entrance to your second campus." I was taken aback. "Are you saying that he might be a student at our school? That possibility cannot be ruled out." We looked at each other in unison and read the same thought in each other's eyes. Arriving at the mouth of the alley where the incident occurred, we began to head towards the side entrance of the second campus, following the route the murderer might have taken that night. As long as I deliberately avoid it, I can easily evade surveillance and blend in with the students coming in and out of the school gate. Damien and I stopped by the roadside, our expressions serious. If the perpetrator is indeed a student, the consequences would be unimaginable. I looked up, searching for the nearest surveillance camera outside the school gate. But while stepping back, I accidentally missed my footing and fell backward. A large hand firmly rested on my waist and lifted me forward. I fell into a solid embrace. A faint scent of sweat mixed with strong hormones filled my nostrils, and my ears instantly became hot. I raised my hand to gently push away, only to hear a loud voice behind me shout, "What are you doing?" Damien and I turned around at the same time. Lucian was standing not far away, looking at us with a face full of anger. Behind him was Jiran, whose face was ashen. The arm behind my waist suddenly tightened. I instinctively looked up and heard Damien coldly ask, "What does it have to do with you?" Lucian was clearly angrier. "Damien, she is my sister who grew up with me since childhood. You are now being rough with her. And you say it has nothing to do with me, just because she is my sister who grew up with me. Does that mean she can't fall in love?" My heart almost skipped a beat when I heard this usually serious man say the word love. Lucian's face twisted in anger as he rushed over and grabbed my wrist tightly, saying, "Come with me." But it was easily torn away by Damien. The two stared at each other, the atmosphere tense and charged. At that moment, Jiran let out an ah and fell to the ground. Lucian came to his senses and quickly turned around. "What happened?" Her eyes were red. "I accidentally twisted my ankle. I'll carry you to the hospital." "Okay." An absurd farce ended with Jiran lying on Lucian's back, glaring at me fiercely. After returning to calm, Damien let go of his hand. "Are you okay?" I shook my head. The air fell silent again. I really want to ask what he meant by love just now, but after trying for a long time, I couldn't bring myself to ask. It might just be a way for him to vent his frustration at Lucian on my behalf. It's just going to add to the awkwardness if we point it out now. Damien suddenly spoke up. Just now, I know you were trying to help me out of kindness. Thank you. He paused for a moment. No need. As time passed, the violent incidents gradually faded from memory, and the campus returned to its former tranquility. Since that separation, Damien and I have kept in touch. But our conversations have mostly revolved around speculations and updates on the case. Now that we can communicate normally, I dare not be as bold and reckless as before. After all, judging from my past life, he seems to prefer a gentle and gradual approach to love. Meanwhile, seemingly dissatisfied with my sudden change in behavior and attitude, Lucian unexpectedly started contacting me through different numbers, even going so far as to have someone deliver an apology letter to me. However, I regarded all these things as garbage and threw them all away. He probably doesn't know that during this time, whenever he contacted by Duran, the latter would proudly show off to me. So, this is not a sign of remorse or a sincere apology. He is just unwilling to accept that his long-time infatuation has moved on. I put all of that behind me and focused on developing my relationship with Damien. At noon, I went to the cafeteria for lunch and happened to see Duran again, but this time, she was sitting next to another boy who was attentively serving her. I squinted and felt that this boy looked somewhat familiar. After thinking for a long time, I finally remembered this person's name from my memory. Xiaozhe, a suitor of Duran during university. My memory of him is just a vague image. I can remember his name only because he shares the same name as my elementary school classmate. But I remember that in my past life, Duran seemed to have never given him a chance. Why am I having dinner with him now? But it has nothing to do with me. I took a glance and then focused on my meal, but Duran saw me. She carried her tray and deliberately sat next to me. Celine, what a coincidence. I chuckled awkwardly. There's only one cafeteria in our school, so it is quite a coincidence. At the same time, Xiaozhe also sat down. As he passed by me, my hand holding the chopsticks suddenly stopped. It's that familiar smell. The scent of incense from the temple and fresh grass. It is almost imperceptible among the flavors of the cafeteria food, but this taste is etched in my bones, unforgettable for eternity. I pretended to be calm as I looked at the boy in front of me. He was hunched over, wearing glasses, with long bangs covering his eyebrows, making it hard to see his expression, yet I could feel his affection for Duran. In a flash, I suddenly recalled the words the murderer said to me before I died. You are too much of a nuisance. I thought of everyone around me who might have said this to me, yet I never considered that he and I had no connection at all. The reason he finds me a nuisance is simply because I hinder his goddess from pursuing love freely. Thinking of this, a chill ran down my back, and I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger inside. So just because my existence hinders this pair of dog-like lovers, I must disappear from this world. Why are you shaking? Duran suddenly asked. I suddenly came to my senses and realized that my fingers had been trembling. It's nothing. I lost my appetite and picked up my plate to leave. Duran got up and chased after me. With Xiaozhe gone, she instantly revealed her true colors. Celine, don't think that you're the only one who can use such tactics. I was taken aback. What? Keeping a backup, deliberately making Yongkang jealous, drawing all his attention away. So you gave Xiaozhe a chance just to make Lucian jealous. That's right. A cold laugh rose from the depths of my heart. Does she even know what foolish thing she is doing? To treat a murderer as a backup, I can't believe she could do that. Do you know what kind of person Xiaozhe is? She was taken aback. What kind of person he is has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just kindly reminding you to be careful not to get burned by playing with fire. To my surprise, she sneered. Celine, don't think I don't know what you're up to. You just want me to back off. Right, don't worry. While you keep a backup, I will too. I pressed my lips down slightly and said, please don't call me a backup. My relationship with Damien is pure and innocent, unlike your dirty thoughts. After saying that, I glanced at Xiaozhe, who was looking this way, and turned to leave. Good words can't persuade a damned ghost. Everyone has their own fate. How she will turn out has nothing to do with me. But the criminal must face the punishment he deserves. I will not let him escape. I took out my phone and sent a message to Damien. I think I found the criminal. I arranged to meet Damien at the cafe. It was the weekend, and there were many couples on dates in the store. The coffee hadn't arrived yet, but the couple at the next table was already all over each other. I felt awkward all over, unable to sit still. Damien, however, seemed to see nothing and focused on discussing the case with me. So you determined the perpetrator just by the smell? Well, although the scent was faint, I recognized it immediately. But the victim girl didn't mention any special smell from the perpetrator after she woke up. Did you perhaps smell it wrong? I shook my head vigorously. Absolutely impossible. As soon as the words fell, everyone around looked at me. It was only then that I realized my voice was quite loud due to excitement. However, the scent I smelled before dying in my past life, I could never be mistaken about. But now, relying solely on the scent without evidence is indeed hard to convince others. Damien stared at me intently. Just when I thought he didn't believe me either, he suddenly said, "Then let's investigate Xiaozhe first." I was taken aback. "You believe me?" he replied casually. "Why wouldn't I believe you?" I stared at him blankly, unable to say a word. So this is what it feels like to be favored by someone. I had never experienced this in my past life with Lucian. Just then, Damien suddenly supported my shoulder and turned my body halfway around. I looked up in confusion and saw that his ears were red. A suggestive sound came from behind me, and I suddenly understood his behavior. It turns out he really didn't see it just now. I deliberately asked, "What's wrong?" "It's nothing." "Is there something behind you that shouldn't be seen?" "No, but it seems I heard the sound of kissing." Damien's ears turned even redder, and there was a hint of barely perceptible anger in his gaze. It seemed I didn't notice and pressed on. "Have you never been kissed? It turns out that one should know when to stop while ahead." A perfectly good date was ruined by my loose tongue. Fortunately, Damien still remembered our agreement, and without any evidence, we began investigating Xiaozhe. During the investigation, I was surprised to discover that Xiaozhe is a Buddhist. Aside from flattering Bai Jiran, he has no particular hobbies. Whenever he has free time, he just sits on the lawn and daydreams. These discoveries excited me. This successfully explains why he has the scent of incense and grass about him. But the scent cannot serve as evidence. We need other corroboration. This case left no biological evidence, and there are no surveillance cameras from the police. If we report it to the police now, it will only alert the snake in the grass. I had no choice but to observe him secretly, trying to find clues from him. But my actions were discovered by Bai Jiran. She thought I was going to tell the other party her true thoughts, so she desperately tried to stop me. "Celine, don't think that by saying some nonsense to Xiaozhe, he will change his feelings for me. He is much more infatuated than you imagine." I found it very puzzling. "By fishing for Xiaozhe like this, can you make Lucian care about you?" She suddenly became spirited. "Let me tell you, Yongkang cherishes me more than ever now. Back then, you pretended to advise me to see through Xiaozhe, but now I see clearly that he is just a way for Yongkang to cherish me even more. Celine, you should know this trick you used all too well." Right, I really didn't expect that she thought I was deliberately trying to prevent her from keeping a backup. I never expected that this trick would actually work on Lucian. TSK, how cheap is that? Speaking of which, Lucian hasn't bothered me again during this time. It seems his attention has been completely drawn to Bai Jiran. I'm quite happy to have some peace and quiet. Thinking of this, I looked at Bai Jiran with a very sympathetic gaze. The men entangled with her are truly pitiful. One is a cold-blooded killer, and the other is a heartless man who only knows competition. What kind of look is that? Bai Jiran asked. "It's nothing. I just think you look really good today." After saying that, I turned and left. Take care of yourself. The investigation into Xiaozhe is still ongoing. Every night, I discuss Damien's motives and actions with him on the phone, in search of clues that can serve as evidence. It was another weekend, and Damien and I met again at the cafe. It was pouring rain outside, and I walked out with an umbrella, but before leaving school, I encountered Bai Jiran. She looked a bit haggard, and just as I was about to ignore her, she proactively came up to me. "Celine," I stopped. "Is something wrong?" She pressed her lips together, looking hesitant. "Did you know anything about Xiaozhe?" "Something." I was taken aback. "What?" After hesitating for a long time, she spoke. "I saw Xiaozhe's diary, and it seems like..." "Diary?" I shivered. "If there is any content on it, wouldn't it serve as evidence?" "What diary?" I asked. "He drew many little people, filled with the words kill, kill, kill." I felt a surge of excitement, but it cooled a bit. If it weren't for the content of the text, it would be difficult to determine it as evidence. But this at least indicates that Xiaozhe has many secrets that we do not know. Besides these, what else did you see? Nothing. Alright then, I have things to attend to, so I'll leave first. Celine, she called me again. Do you know something that you don't want to tell me? I know we have grievances, but we can't joke about matters of life and death. How about this? Let's laugh it off and put our grudges behind us. You tell me everything you know. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Why should I let go of our grudges with a smile? And why should I tell you everything I know? Is it because in the past life you knew and did everything? Is it because your secret admirer killed me? Each rhetorical question bleeds in my heart, stabbing every nerve. I really didn't want to deal with her anymore, so I turned and left. On my way to the appointment, I messaged Damien, I'll be there soon. In 10 minutes, just after this message was sent, I was grabbed by a pair of hands covering my mouth and nose, and within seconds, I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I found myself in an unfinished, abandoned building. My hands and feet were tied, my mouth was taped shut, and in front of me stood a man fully armed, with only his eyes visible, but I still recognized him at a glance. He was Xiaozhe. What did you say to Bai Jiran? He asked. Realizing that my mouth was still taped shut, he paused, pulled out a sharp knife, and said, if you dare to make a sound, I'll stab you to death immediately. The sound of rain outside was deafening. Even if I wanted to scream, no one would hear me. After saying that, he tore off the tape. What do you mean? I asked, confused. Did you say bad things about Xiaozhe to her? As he said this, he suddenly paused, as if realizing he had already exposed his identity. He decided to stop pretending, tore off his mask, and shouted at me. You bitch! Did you say bad things about me to her? The sharp knife pressed against my skin. And the nightmare of being stabbed to death in my past life suddenly overwhelmed me. I could hardly breathe, my eyes red, desperately shaking my head. Then why did she suddenly distance herself from me? Recently, it's only you who keeps staring at me. Tell me, did you discover something and then tell her? In the blink of an eye, I thought of a countermeasure. I can't possibly speak ill of Bai Jiran because the boy I like likes her. If she is with you, then I can be with that boy. You can check, what I'm saying is true. That boy's name is Lucian. He is my childhood friend's older brother, and I have liked him for many years. I was afraid he wouldn't believe me, so I desperately explained. Gradually, he calmed down amidst these words. I know Lucian, he murmured. He was her favorite. So you should understand me. We are on the same side. If Lucian is with me, then you can be with Bai Jiran. Right. After a huge panic, I surprisingly remained calm and gently urged him. You should let me go now, and then we can work together to break them apart. This sentence seemed to strike a nerve with Xiaozhe. He suddenly stood up and ran outside, but he didn't let go of me. I was stunned for 2 seconds, trying to break free from the ropes binding my hands and feet, afraid he hadn't gone far. I didn't dare to shout, but this knot is very special. I can't break free no matter what. Just then, someone behind me touched me. I was startled and turned to see the person's face. It was Damien. In an instant, the heart that was hanging in suspense suddenly settled, as if life had found its home, and my eyes felt a bit warm. How did you find this place? We'll talk about it later. He lowered his head to help me untie the ropes. Just then, footsteps were heard again from outside. Damien glanced at me and hid behind the door frame in front of me. I instantly understood what he meant. When Xiaozhe came over, I directly pounced on him from behind, but this time, Xiaozhe stood outside the door and did not come in for a long time. Did he discover something? Just as my mind was racing, he spoke up. I'm sorry, I can't let you go. If I had just talked to you properly before tying you up, we could have been allies in the same league, but now, I've already kidnapped you. And you know my secret, so you might report me to the police once you get out, which is why I can't let you go. As he spoke, he walked towards me step by step. Holding a sharp knife in his hand, I looked at him in terror, desperately shaking my head, trying to attract all of his attention. Just as he stepped into the doorway, Damien lunged from behind and slammed him to the ground. Taking advantage of his physique, Damien pinned Xiaozhe down, trying to seize his knife. Just then, Xiaozhe suddenly struggled. Be careful, I shouted. The sharp knife grazed Damien's hand and slid 10 meters away. Xiaozhe took advantage of his pain, broke free from his restraints, and ran away. Damien cursed under his breath. disregarding his bleeding hand, and picked up a sharp knife to cut the ropes binding me. I tore a piece of fabric to help bandage his wound and left this place with him to call the police. Now, even if there was no evidence for the previous assault cases, Xiaozhe would be arrested by the police for kidnapping me. As I walked out of the unfinished building, I asked, "How did you find this place?" "You told me 10 minutes, but I waited 15. I went to look for you, and on the way, I found your phone, which made me realize you might have been kidnapped, and the likely culprit is Xiaozhe. He doesn't have a house nearby or any means of transportation, and to kidnap an adult, he could only choose to drag them to a nearby unfinished building. So I came here, meticulous and clear-minded. No wonder he is capable of being a police captain. Xiaozhe has run away. He won't hurt anyone again, right? I had already contacted the police before I came here, so he is probably already arrested." However, when we arrived at the nearest school hospital to bandage the wounds, we heard news of someone attempting to jump off a building. We exchanged a glance and hurried over. The area below the teaching building was already crowded with students, and when I looked up, I saw Xiaozhe standing on the top floor. He was at the end of his rope. So it's understandable that he thought about jumping off the building, but he was still holding onto a trembling person. When I focused my gaze, I was surprised to find it was Bai Jiran. Xiaozhe kept shouting something. If I listened closely, it seemed he was asking Bai Jiran to die with him. The police arrived, and Lucian was with them. After I explained the situation to the police, they began to discuss a strategy. One team moved in to stabilize the assailants' emotions from the front, while another team, in conjunction with the firefighters, looked for an opportunity to rescue the hostage from the rear. Xiaozhe seemed to sense the police's intentions. As they gradually approached, he pulled out a knife and pressed it against Bai Jiran's neck. No one expected that he had another knife. The plan had to be changed at the last minute. "Call Lucian over," Joe shouted. There was no choice. The police had to call Lucian to cooperate and negotiate. However, the latter was clearly unwilling, keeping a very safe distance. "Lucian," Xiaozhe said, "don't you love her very much? I'm giving you a chance now. Come over and be my hostage, and I'll let her go. Yongkang, save me." Bai Jiran kept crying, but Lucian seemed not to hear, his face filled with fear, hesitating to move. The knife pressed against Bai Jiran's neck dug in a little deeper, and blood could already be seen, yet Lucian still refused to act. "Someone downstairs can no longer stand it. Aren't you a police academy student? How can you lack this little courage? Your girlfriend's life is in danger, and you're just going to stand by as her boyfriend." The police signaled for the crowd to be quiet. Everyone still felt indignant. Xiaozhe had clearly lost all patience. He pulled Bai Jiran and slowly moved closer to Lucian. The police signaled for Lucian to keep Xiaozhe steady first, but Bai Jiran had clearly reached her limit. She cried out, "Yongkang, don't you love me? Why do you turn a blind eye to my life and death? Why won't you even say a comforting word to me?" Lucian remained silent. In that moment, something unexpected happened that took everyone by surprise. Bai Jiran suddenly broke free from Xiaozhe and jumped off the rooftop, seeing the goddess fall. Xiaozhe went mad, grabbing a sharp knife and charging at Lucian. With a muffled sound, screams erupted one after another. Damien covered my eyes, due to being blocked by debris. Bai Jiran did not die, but the fall from a height injured her spine, leaving her to spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. Lucian was stabbed multiple times, each wound fatal, and ultimately could not be saved. Upon hearing the news of his death, I felt an overwhelming sense of unreality in my past life. When I saw him cheat, I wished for him to die immediately, but now that it has actually happened, it didn't bring the satisfaction I had imagined. Xiaozhe is facing the death penalty for multiple charges including robbery, murder, and kidnapping. The wound on Damien's hand is almost healed, and I accompanied him to the hospital to have the stitches removed. While waiting in the lobby, the sunlight slanted through the window, illuminating his profile. In that moment, I felt as if I had returned to my past life, chatting with him in the hospital. At that time, I never imagined that missing out on this man in front of me would become my greatest regret in this life. So I instinctively said, "Damien." He turned his head to look at me, his face illuminated by the sunlight, matching my memories. Do you remember what I said to you the first time we met?" He fell silent. Back then, I was infatuated with this childhood friend I had a crush on. lowering my stance to the extreme, enduring until marriage. Now, I smiled and said, "That's right. No, this is not me repeating your words, this is what I want to say to you." He said slowly, "Celine, I am here to confess my feelings to you." I suddenly found myself speechless, my cheeks burning with embarrassment. This man, who is usually serious and rigid, actually said something like this. Just when I was at a loss, he slowly leaned in and smiled, his strong features softening. "Will you accept my confession?" I agree." He suddenly raised his hand and pulled me into his arms, leaning close to my ear and lowering his voice. "You asked me that day if I had never been kissed." My ears felt tingly and my cheeks were burning hot. He deliberately exhaled, "The answer is no, so, do you want to give it a try with me?" I couldn't take it anymore, and suddenly buried myself in his arms, fiercely pounding on his chest muscles. He smiled and held my fist. "All right. I'm not teasing you anymore. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future." After finishing the stitches, I walked out of the hospital with Damien, facing the setting sun. He walked beside me, gently holding me, and suddenly asked, "Why did you climb over the wall to get into our school back then?" "To confess my feelings to you." What a coincidence to run into me. Yes, it's just that coincidental. We exchanged smiles, and under the sunset, we kissed each other, in this life. I finally got my wish.